episode of the Young Dad Podcast. I'm Jay. Not with us today is Aaron. Unfortunately, my co-captain is dealing with car insurance, which is super fun. But I have the most fabulous guest. I'm so excited she's here. You heard a little bit about her in the intro. We were talking before we started recording. She's just an absolute delight. It's Dawn Brodey, host of the HILF Podcast. Dawn, how are you today?
I'm so great, Jay. I'm so glad to be on your pod. Thank you for having me.
I'm thrilled. Dawn, I gave a short intro to you about you to the listeners. It was very short. It was like 30 seconds. So tell the people just a little bit about you, and then I'll fill in any gaps that I might see.
Okay. Well, I am many things. I'm a comedian and I am a podcaster. Those are my primary jobs in this world. I have a history degree, and my podcast and my comedy are almost always about a historical subject, historical character, historical perspective. I have worked for historical institutions around the world. I am a talking head on the History Channel. Love this stuff. And so my podcast is called HILF, History I'd Like to Fuck, because I am also a mom. I don't know if I'm a MILF. I mean, that's, I suppose, completely subjective. But
I don't think I can talk to that on air because your husband's going to hear it and stuff. But you are beautiful, Dawn.
You say it, Jay.
You are beautiful, Dawn. You are HILF with an M instead of an H.
Oh, bless you. Oh, bless you. That's very nice.
There we go. That's a please tell your husband that I don't mean anything by that. I'm not trying to slide on you or anything.
Oh, I'm gonna tell him and be like, they asked me to be on their podcast and they all agreed that they wanted to fuck me. That was the first thing we got out of the way, and he'll be like, oh my gosh.
At least we got it like cleared out. At least we addressed the elephant in the room. So you know.
Oh well, thanks. Well, and people we may, and I've had my husband as a guest. But so there are occasionally people.
And you have been in bed with women on your podcast as well. So
I have. You're right. One of my guests. She was like, yeah, if you can come to my house, that would be great. I have a nice quiet place where we can record. And I said, great. I got there. And the nice quiet place was in the middle of her bed. So
yes.
It was very cozy. We fucked the Three Musketeers.
That was such a fun episode to listen to because it was just like, you kept referencing like, this is a bed where you guys have sex. This is...
I mean, I'm assuming you don't leave the bed to go have sex somewhere else. And she was like, nope. And I was like, great. Okay, that's cool. You know, I mean, this is when you...
The sheets were clean though, right? Sheets were clean.
They appeared to be very clean. I didn't like take out a lamp or like run a DNA test, but yeah, the
probably
spot
best
check.
That you didn't.
the
spot check.
The immediate glance. It was generally pretty tidy. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Very clean. And I'm a mom. I have a daughter. She will turn 5 in July. Her name is Beatrice, and she's awesome.
Is she a little teenager already and just stuck in like a little 4-year-old body?
Oh, Jay. I mean, the lipstick, the jewelry. I mean, there's a there's a lot. And that was not me. I have 2 older sisters. I was one of 3 little girls.
And that episode that you guys did with your mom recently about female pleasure toys or the friends to females in the bedroom. I guess.
That's right. Sex device, baby. A vibrator.
Sex device. Yeah. That was fun to listen to.
It was a crazy history, wasn't it? I was so surprised it was so fun. I sit down with my 2 older sisters and my mom to talk about the history of the vibrator. And it's so funny because they're simultaneously, they say whatever is on their mind and everyone talks at the same time. And we're all really loud and we're all really crass. And there are no real boundaries with how we talk. Yeah. And we're Midwest girls who get a little uncomfortable talking about sex. And so it's like this great combination of just like boisterous, loud shyness. Oh, they were so much fun. It was such a fun episode.
And they didn't know what you guys were talking about going into it, right?
You know, I had told them in advance because I was like, well, you guys sit down and do a HILF, and they were sure. And they had thrown out some ideas of things they might want to talk about or that they might think was fun. And I chose vibrator, and they were like, okay.
Yeah, okay.
They're obviously down. Yeah.
They were down. It was a great episode. But Dawn, you're also from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the Mall of America, the Twins, the Vikings all come from. You're currently a transplant into LA, though. You studied and performed improv with Dudley Briggs' Brave New Workshop. You were a company member of Tony and Tina's Wedding, wrote 3 historical plays. You started doing stand-up in LA at the Comedy Store, Laugh Factory, Ice House, to name a few places. You're also a freelance writer, Netflix, Paramount, City Pages, an actress. I see Pretty Little Liars, Days of Our Lives.
yeah. And this is a lot of fun. Yeah, Jay, you did your homework.
Oh, I did. And you also, of course, created the bi-weekly now. It's bi-weekly now.
That's right.
That needs to be updated on your website, by the way. HILF Podcast, History I Like to Fuck. And you can be seen as a street improviser at Universal Studios, Hollywood. And of course, you're also a wife, mother. You also have an itty bitty dog named Yogurt.
Yes.
How did I do?
Wow, Jay, that was awesome. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I don't know if everyone's like this, but some people I think who have transplanted from one city or one career in their adulthood, it's like, and it's in a way I didn't stop and start again. Like I continued my career and I continued my life, like from Minneapolis to LA.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you find yourself in this whole new pool of people in a whole new city that referencing work that you did before. They don't know those institutions. It's not maybe something you're doing anymore. So sometimes, you get kind of compartmentalized and you let it go. So it was actually very cool to hear you talk about everything I've done. Yeah.
Long ago, right? It wasn't.
Within the last 2014.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so less than 10 years.
Again? Didn't you move again recently too, just to a different new home?
Exactly. Well, I lived in Minneapolis for the last 9 years that I was there, aboard a houseboat on the Mississippi River. Oh. And then we moved to LA in an RV, and we lived in the RV for 4 years while we were like getting our legs and figuring out if we were going to stay. And then Melby, my husband, got a big boy job at Netflix. Ooh. That afforded us the opportunity really to have a baby, buy a condo. And then as of January of this year, we have moved into a house. And so we have a nice little house in the valley of Los Angeles in a neighborhood called Van Nuys.
Very nice.
Which is actually, if you are in LA, it's funny. It's like Van Nuys is one of those places. It's kind of a joke. It's kind of like people kind of like, ooh, Van Nuys. Like if you're a big fan, if you're a fan of The Big Lebowski, which who isn't, the dude's car, when the dude's car is stolen, it's found in an abutment in Van Nuys. It's just kind of, but it's beautiful. We love it.
Hey, it's better. I was born in Torrance, actually.
Aha. Mm-hmm.
So exactly, that's the reaction.
Yeah, San Bernardino. These are places that people do big nods when you say you're from there. They do big nods because they don't want to go, ugh.
Exactly. Well, I was also raised in the East Bay up in Oakland. So I was raised in East Oakland and in Oakland. See, another big nod.
Big nod. Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm not originally from Minneapolis. I was born and raised in rural Wisconsin.
Oh, even worse.
Big nods. Big nods.
There's cows, right?
That's it. There's cows. I mean, we talked about it on that episode with my family. You just hang out in parking lots or fields.
Grow your own weed and smoke it in a big parking lot at a bonfire because you only get like 2 months a year that you can have a bonfire.
That's right. And even then, the mosquitoes are probably at you. So
yeah. Like I went to school in Idaho, so I get it. Like we had a summer session of school that was 7 weeks. That was spring and summer and warm weather that you can go and jump off a bridge into the river and not freeze to death once you hit the water.
Yes. You can see your fellow teens in their swimming suits, finally.
Yeah. It was the only time that you could get outside and that girl you're dating, you can actually see her in a swimsuit.
God, finally.
Yeah. Because it's too cold to do anything else.
But the potatoes love it.
But yeah. Well, fun fact. Actually, I don't know if this is still a fun fact, but I remember when I was younger, I went whitewater rafting here in Washington State, down the Wenatchee River, and they had told us on that tour guide that Washington grows more potatoes than Idaho, and Idaho grows more apples than Washington. I don't know if that's still true.
Well, I have a bit in my stand-up California makes more cheese than Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's actual number one export is called bovine genetics, which is bull semen.
Because everyone needs some good bull semen.
I know. It can be hard to swallow, but that's the truth. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
There we go.
I don't mind it was late. I don't mind it was late. It still felt good. I had to
recover from that. I'm like, do I have that? Do I have a button? I have a button. But for you, Don, you know, I personally love HILF. If any of my listeners haven't listened to HILF, I'm going to 100% promote it and say they should go listen to it. I already did yesterday on a post on our Instagram. But, you know, you go from your history degree in Minnesota. So you go from history to comedy. How did you go from history to comedy, and what is that journey like for you?
You know, I'm realizing more and more that what attracted me to history is the same thing that attracts me to comedy, which is stories. And generally, whenever I encounter a story, I just have an eye for the funny, for the ironic, for the silly, for the unexpected. Excuse me. And it's so funny because you say, you know, how do you go from history to comedy? Probably the same way that you go from life to comedy. You know, you're doing the same thing. You're using the same process, which is to take the things that are tragic, make them funny, to take the things that you couldn't fucking make this up. You cannot believe how crazy this is, you know?
Yeah, no,
you can also predict what if this thing had happened instead of this thing that had happened. And so you're still using the same tools. It's just that instead of using the subjects of my husband or my dating life or my mom or LA traffic, I'm using Napoleon and DP Cooper and George Washington. You know what I mean? But it's in terms of the chemistry or the science of comedy, it's probably the exact same thing.
Okay. That makes sense. It just seems like it's two different. You got history over here, you have comedy over here, and you normally associate boring people over here and just like crazy extroverts, hilarious people over here that are just so naturally funny. Like you just have a conversation with them and you're just like, oh my gosh, this person's hilarious. Just like much like talking to you. Like I wouldn't think that you were a historian before comedian because you're just a lively person.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. You know, it comes back to y'all's pod because you have that yin yang symbol that is so intricate, I know, to a lot of what you do. And it really is that it's like they're different, but they hold hands so beautifully. Because I find that when I'm in my nerdy history world with like really dry, sort of academic facts and details, debate focused folks, they are the biggest fans of comedy. They're the ones who, when they're not doing that and when they have the opportunity, they love to be able to have that levity, and they know all the comedians that I work with and they get super stoked that I'm a comedian because it's a world they're really intrigued by, you know what I mean? And when I'm in the green room of a comedy club, you know, and everyone's like, you know, they're weird. They're totally crazy. You know what I mean? And they're different from each other. There's no like uniform kind of comedian. There's your sad, morose, kind of grumpy. There's your super outlandish, kind of talking all the time in the green room. There's people doing bits. I mean, it's crazy. And they love history. They love it when you're like, you know, there were these parties in the 1920s where rich people would unwrap mummies and eat the dead mummy skin from them because they thought it gave them immortality. And the comedians are going to be the first ones that are like, what the fuck? Tell me everything, you know?
Yeah.
And it is often why I have comedians as my guests. You'll see a lot of my guests are comedians because it's just a lovely match. To have the nerdy stuff that people don't think is they're not always immediately attracted to, with people that they are almost always immediately attracted to.
Yeah, well, because then you see like a different side of these like comedians, you know. That's one thing I love about listening to, like, for instance, Joe Rogan, because you just see a different side of these comedians. They're just like talking about, or these UFC fighters who you don't think do anything but eat and fight and get hit in the head a bunch of times. But it's like you see just like this whole like people, this human side of them, and they're just like, whoa, like the colors of the world are amazing. Like the things that, people have gone through, people around me, like within the last couple 100 years, like this is mind blowing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And when you do anything in life and in history, of course, it's always people. It's always humans. It's always people doing people shit,
Yes.
which is simultaneously sort of predictable and limited in how humans react in certain areas. You can kind of guess. And so unbelievably unpredictable. Just the wildest thing. You cannot imagine how or why these humans came to this sort of, place. And that is, I think, why everything in history is so interesting. Like I'm in the middle right now of research on the Titanic. I have an episode coming up on Titanic.
Ooh, spoiler alert.
It's so good. I know. It's so good.
Teaser. And that's a teaser.
It's a teaser, exactly. And this is going to be huge. It's going to be a 2-parter. I'm very excited. Ooh. And there's this, there's a story that I'm in right now that is about the guy who found the wreck. And I'm just like all up in his personal relationships with like the French team that was working alongside of him, and the bitterness and the jealousies and the like revisionist history that they've both had about who did what. And it's like almost as interesting as like the people who were clinging to each other as the ship sank. Like, it's just, I love it so much. I just love it so much. I could fuck it, that.
Yeah. So like, I guess a controversial question, was there enough room on the door for them both?
Well, that's for James Cameron. I know these poor assholes have been debating it ever since. No, I don't think there was room for Jack on that door.
No.
I don't think there's room for Jack on that door. I think that the only way for Jack to get on that door was for both of them to have their asses in the water. And I don't think that you make it very long that way. Some people did. Some people were able to, make it only losing a few. I don't think so.
No, I don't think he would have survived. I think they both would have maybe been on it for a few hours, but then buoyancy and gravity, and they're drowning when they wake up. So
I'm sure that probably James Cameron would have inserted maybe one more try that would have made it abundantly clear that there was no way the two of them could be on it, because it does seem like after this 3-hour movie and everything that you've seen and the stakes this high and everything they've done, that you're just sort of like, darn it. Looks like you're going to die, pal. It's like, what? Wow.
You're dead.
Maybe just try. Just like maybe one more try.
Yeah, no, that was. So when is that coming out? Just in case people are wondering, like me, asking for a friend.
See. I know, right? I have to look at the date. I know. I'll give you. All you and your listeners get the sneak peek. So as we're recording this, the next episode to come out is about the history of fairies, with my best friend of 25 years, Rhiannon Fiskraditz. She is fantastic.
Even a little bit more of a teaser there.
Yes. Then another 2-parter on Area 51. And
I remember you talked about this a few weeks ago. I remember the teaser for Area 51.
Oh, I was so excited. And then it will be Titanic. So you've got to wait a little bit, but it'll be worth it.
Because you're every other week. So is that one? Is the fairies coming out tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow's fairies, and then there would be nothing the first week of May.
And then you're doing the
10,
the calendar
24 for your Area 51s.
So the 10th, the 10th and the 24th are Area 51. So the Titanic episode will debut
June
on June 7th.
All right.
He's setting an alarm. He's setting a reminder.
I am. Well, the podcast that I really like to listen to, because I feel like obviously if you do podcasts, you listen to podcasts a lot. Like I listen to a bunch of different podcasts. Some are just purely for me. Like I listen to fantasy football podcasts. I love the fantasy footballers. I love their comedy spinoff, the Spitballers, that Andy, Mike, and Jason have. It's super family friendly. Like if you just want 3 dudes that are just hilarious and just like dumb and having a good time, that definitely aren't trained comedians whatsoever. It's great. They're just
fun.
It's so much fun and stuff. So I love their stuff because I love their football stuff. So I support their comedy because it's just family friendly. It's very wholesome. It's very wholesome.
I love it.
But I listen to your podcast because it's tier 1.
So great. Thank you so much.
But you have to listen to other podcasts because I've learned stuff from just following and listening to your podcast that I want to do or incorporate into mine, like your Instagram posts. If you've looked at my Instagram posts in the last, I don't know, couple, maybe like month or two,
Yeah.
I may or may not have ripped off your exact formatting for
Oh,
how
good.
you format yours. I may or may not have taken the same thing where you put like a quick little like 1 or 2 lines looking for a way to
Uh-huh.
listen, your link tree, and then
Uh-huh.
your links for Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and then all
Yeah.
your hashtags.
All the hashtags. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Look at you. See,
Yeah.
I love it. And if it works, I mean, it feels like it works because, sometimes these get posted. Like I do cross posting on Facebook. And so the
Yes.
links are alive in the text, but they're like not on Instagram. So it just makes it kind of a shorthand for me. Look at you,
Yeah.
girl. I love this.
Like, I use Meta. I love using Meta to like schedule my posts because it's just like copy paste, Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah, I do scheduling. Yeah, I try to, in a perfect world, what I try to do is to have, the MP3 of the episode and everything done, because I
Mhm.
do a little post production on them, as you know. I add a little sound and stuff like that. And then I try to post something on social every day,
Yes.
in the
Same.
2 weeks. Yeah, and something that pertains to the episode that's the current episode. So essentially 14 posts. That is 14 images and 14 blurbs and 14 links, which over time can end up being kind of the
Oh,
big
it's
time suck that I didn't always anticipate. That isn't the researching. That, you know what I
yes.
mean? Like that's the stuff that I
Yes.
give away.
No, I get that because I'll go back and I'll chop up. I haven't done it in a few weeks just because I started a new job and transitioning and stuff, but it's like I try to chop it up into these little like 1 minute like clips and stuff, but then I have to go back through
Mhm.
and listen to an hour of audio
Right.
and chop it up. And then I've had it happen to where I listen to it on one platform, I write it down, but then when I go in to chop it up, it's off by a few seconds. So then I could have made
Mhm.
10 of them and have 10 ready. And then I go back and I start listening to them. I'm like, these are wrong. This is a
It's
different
wrong.
part than I wanted.
It is. Podcasting is really awesome and really challenging, and there's a huge learning curve. And like anything that relies heavily on technology, just when you think you get the art part down, the creative part down, what you want the podcast to sound like and look like, all of a sudden
Yes.
you're faced with like a whole new media or technology question that may or may not be anywhere near your area of expertise and the
Yep. That's
time,
where
and it
I'm
can
at.
be
That's where I'm
so,
at.
oh yeah, but it really rewarding. I mean, meeting you and encountering all these other podcasts is so rewarding, so worth it.
Yeah,
Love it.
like my next season for like teaser for my listeners is all my
Mm.
guests next season are all other podcasters.
Ah, brilliant.
They're
Smart.
except I think for one. I think there's one. Her name's Erin. She runs this blog called The Divorce Dish. Um, really cool lady. Super excited to have her on. Um, but all the other guys that are coming on um, outside of her, you're actually the first woman of the Young Dad podcast, by the way.
Hey. Oh, well, I'm glad to be here, dads. You're doing
You
great out
are
there.
We're honored. But yeah, so it's super fun. You just meet so many cool people. But you've probably met so many people just in your lines of work, acting, writing, all these cool things. So with everything that you've done, your work, how have you balanced and how do you balance that with being a wife and a mother?
Hmm.
Because just because we're the Young Dad podcast, we still have about
Right.
40% listenership that is female and
Sure.
moms and whatnot. So
Well, I appreciate that. And I also appreciate it just because I think it's worthwhile to think about the perspective of my husband, who's a young dad, and who we both became parents together for the first time. We didn't have kids outside. He is the oldest in his family, and I'm the youngest. And there's something about that dynamic that I think works really well. Again, that yin yang, which is he really comfortably falls into the role of caregiver and, like, for lack of a better word, the dad stuff. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like he's a guy's guy. He likes to brew beer and like chop wood, mow the lawn.
I gotta come hang
you
out with
know,
Melby.
yeah, he's got
I'll
a
say hi to you, Don.
beard.
Don't worry, but I'm gonna come
I
hang out
mean,
with
yeah, I'll
Melby
be
next
like,
time.
Jenny, remember me?
You're
Yeah,
like, who are
he
you?
rides. Yeah,
Melby,
he
who's
rides a
this?
Harley. He'll be like, "This is Jay. I told you all about it." And there are some real like heteronormative, traditional gender roles that we both fall into that are totally authentic, and we are happy, and it's great, and you know what I mean. It's
Yes.
fun. And there are, of course, a lot of like just individuals, sorting out. I became a mom. I had my daughter when I was 39, and I didn't want kids prior to this point in my life. I was very excited to be pregnant, and I wanted to have kids with Melby, but that was a decision I came to late in life.
I thought you were so much younger, by the way.
Oh, God bless your eyes. No, I'm 44, and I had her when I was 39. And like I said, I didn't want to have kids. When Melby and I got together, in fact, it was like a thing. He would talk about kids, and I'd be like, I love you, and like this relationship is great, but I think that if like kids and a wife are what you're really after, I think we should break up, because I don't want that at all.
Yeah.
And it was like a thing, and I was married when I was 19. I got divorced when I was 22. My parents are divorced. I'm just like, I think it's kind of a scam. And I think it's just kind of a stupid institution that stupid people get into because they're too lazy to think of some other way to live with someone. And he was like, really, like, okay, I totally get it. And he was like, well, then let's just see what happens. I was like, no, I don't want to see what happens. I want you to decide right now. And I was like, wait, that's not me either. We don't need to decide. He's allowed to want what he wants. We're all being really clear about what's going on. And then what's crazy, Jay.
So how old were you guys when you guys met?
I'm 8 years older than him. Okay. And he was in college. I auditioned for his student film.
So what you're saying is you're also a cougar, Dawn.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I robbed that cradle, baby.
HILF is making more sense now.
And you know what's crazy, man? Is like at the time, like now I'm 44, he's 36. Okay. So it seems less and less like a thing. Oh yeah. But like for sure, when we met, we didn't date for the first few years. We were friends, and frankly, I forgot his name. He had to reintroduce himself 3 times. Every time we met, I'd be like, right, your name is Arbuckle, Alistair. And he's like, oh my God, it's Andrew Melby. And I was like, right. So it was like, and now I love him so much. He is the best man on the planet. He's changed heaven and earth and recreated what life is all about. I mean, I am so in love with my husband. The idea, Jay, the very idea that I like dismissed him or like thought he was like no big deal or almost didn't marry this gem of a dude. Oh, I mean, talk about history. Ugh. That would have been terrible. So big revolutions, you know what I mean? And not revolution, like nobody had to convince me. It was literally an evolution. It was, the way water changes earth. It's not a violent thing. It's just a natural thing. Mm-hmm. And I know that there's a lot of cliches in there about, people, you get older. All these old ladies that were telling me my whole life, never say never, and you never know what's going to happen. And I'd be like, fuck you, bitches. Quit telling me what I want, because I'm not a goddamn woman the way you think womanhood and feminism, and I'm going to do what I'm living.
You're already in your mid-30s. Like, you already have you've already had your divorce era.
Yeah, I was married, divorced. I have a college degree. I'm living on my boat. I'm doing my thing, and all these old bitches keep telling me that my life hasn't really started yet because I'm not married or have kids, and I just resented it so much. Yeah. And to be fair, if I had never met and fallen in love with Melby, I think my life would have been great. I think my life would have been awesome. And also awesome. Another possible great timeline exists out there where I remained a single childless woman and just had a bitch in life. You know what I mean? Oh, but this path I'm on is amazing. I love being a wife and a mother. This family that he and I have made together is just, I'm so proud of it, and I'm so full of joy, and it's hard and it's great. I'm just really overall really grateful. I'm really grateful that I had an opportunity to change,
Definitely. No, so he played the long-term game.
He really did.
He really did. You, because you said it took a couple of years before you guys even got together and dated, and then
yeah,
then he had to convince you for a few more years to marry him, and
I mean a little bit. It was like, I didn't really think it's so, again, in hindsight, I cannot tell you how horrifying this fact is, but like, not only would I forget his name, he'd have to tell me again how we met, and I'd be like, yeah, right. And to be fair, he, you as an actress, which was how he met me, you are very separated from the crew. most of the time.
Mm.
You'll encounter, especially on a big set, the director, the assistant director, makeup, craft services, but otherwise there's usually dozens of people. They're almost always men, certainly at this time that I was working, where and when I was working. Not only were they all men, they were all white men in their 20s with a beard and a stocking cap and a Twins shirt on, and they're all holding a boom mic or grip gloves or whatever, and they're all named John, Mike, Eric, Ryan, Matt. Andrew.
Well, because you can't get too crazy in the Midwest, okay? You can't get too crazy with names in the Midwest now, okay?
You just can't, yeah. And so, yeah, I'd meet him and he'd be like, hi, I was on that project with you. And I'd be like, oh, hi. Because we didn't have a relationship. It wasn't like we had made good friends. It was just, whatever. And then one day we worked on a project together. We worked really closely on this project together. And my friends around me were like, that guy's he's kind of got it. The hots for you. And I was like, who? They're like, Andrew Melby, you dummy. And I was like, oh, I never really thought about that. It's just horrifying. It's like a horror film. Like remembering this stuff, Jay, is like watching, Michael Myers sit up behind Jamie Lee Curtis and just being like, oh God, you almost let this guy go by.
I help people process, and that's what I do in my line of work. I work in therapy, so it's what I do.
Well, you do it well.
But no, that's so cool. I mean, it's all timing, it's all timing.
Yeah. But, you asked about balance. At risk of oversimplifying, I really believe that anyone can be a good parent if you have enough money. And I don't mean money to buy your kids things. I mean the other stuff that money does, which is free you up as a parent to be both physically and psychologically present with your child, and physically and psychologically available to address their super unique needs. Because what scared me about motherhood and what put me off of motherhood was the motherhood that I had seen with my relatives and my friends, which was almost to a person, a low income, strapped all the time, crazy, trying to take care of these goddamn kids reality. What the fuck am I going to do with these kids?
Yeah.
If you don't put your goddamn shoes on, we're going to be late. And if I'm late, I get fired. And if I get fired, we all go homeless. Like that is just kind of constantly the way. Is like, you child need to move faster and do this. And I don't have time to explain it. And I don't have time to take care of you. And then the compounding like guilt and anger of like how hard every little thing is when you barely have enough time to do it all. And that is, I think, people so quickly put that on impatient parents or multitaskers or professional, all these things that we do when we just know it's money. It's because we all need to make money. And if we don't have enough money, none of this works. And I've been so lucky because, like I said, we didn't decide to have kids until we had money.
And that's completely fair and valid. Like I see it all the time in like groups I'm part of on Facebook. Like I mostly am in dad groups on Facebook for the research part of it. Because it helps me have ideas, it helps me see common trends, it helps me, collect data. But it's like I see it so often where it's like someone will put out there like, I'm working 2 hours away from home right now, I'm making $3 more, I have an awful schedule, I'm just not there, as much as I want to be. But I have this other offer that I'm getting paid $3 less. It's a Monday through Friday, it's a 9 to 5, and I'm just like, it's like the bills will still be paid, like everything will be covered, like nothing will change financially really except a little bit of extra fun money. And it's like I saw this quote, and it was super recently, where it's like it's better to be part of the memory than hear about it later. And it's like take that job that works with, it's like take that job that works with around your kid's schedule now. And like, it's like I was talking to my dad about this because like as I recently finished my bachelor's a couple months ago before I got into this job in therapy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I kept getting these offers to go and do like these, we were talking about it before we started recording, but like to go and be a teacher, to do these like teaching fellowships and to become a teacher, but they were all on the East Coast or Midwest. And it was like, that's so far, like I can't do that. And my dad was like, you know what, you could do that. You can do that later. You can do that when you're in your 40s. Like my kids will be grown by the time I'm in my mid 40s. They'll be grown. They'll be old enough where they won't really need me as much kind of thing. It's like I can do those things later if I really want to go and teach later. I can go get my master's to be a teacher if I want to online. Like, but it's like now
Yeah.
is my time to be part of the memories, to coach the t-ball team, to be at the games, to be a part of the memories, to take them swimming, to make these silly memories with them, and you know, much like yourself, like you guys are right there in Southern California, LA, Universal Studios, Disneyland.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
you have the time and the resources to do those things right now
Yeah.
because that's
Well,
the
and
place
I
you put
think that
yourself in.
that's right. And I think there's also a really important element of being a parent that is demonstrating to your children how to follow your dreams and how to take risks. Because I think sometimes we we almost over index on this idea of don't have kids until you're ready and you can afford it. And this is, of course, without even getting into the question of like reproductive health, it's why it's so important that people have autonomy to make these decisions about
Yes,
when and they have children.
agreed.
So may we preserve the right to be able to be so judicious about our own reproduction. But
Yes.
I think sometimes individually we can almost over index that way, in the sense that we go, okay, I'm going to wait until everything's perfect so I can be a perfect parent to this child, be with them all the time and take care of them all the time. And that's great. And if you can, oh my God, yes. But as
Yes,
we all
absolutely.
know, that child will evolve and have different needs that will need you in a different capacity and in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think that there can be something really wonderful about showing a child how to follow your bliss. And
Mhm.
that they can not take it personally. Like for example, when I do comedy, my daughter's always sad to see me go.
Mhm.
And of course, it's like,
Of
mom,
course.
anytime you go to work and like I'm all dressed up, I'm wearing makeup, which is her favorite thing. My
Of
hair is
course.
done, and I'm gonna go do this exciting thing. And she knows about comedy, and she's seen stuff on stage, and she's seen me perform. And she gets sad, and I try to tell her, sometimes really directly, but even in just the way I do it, I'm so happy to be going. I'm going to miss you. I love you. I wish I was with
Mhm.
you all the time. We always have fun. I can't wait to see you again. But I love where I'm going. And
Yes.
I'm so glad I'm going to do comedy because I love it so much. And thank you. And I try to make clear,
Yes.
thank you for being such a good friend. And she walks me the door, high five, mom, have a great show. Because sometimes what we're teaching them and what they're learning are two different things.
Mhm.
And we
Yeah,
can think that we're
exactly.
teaching, I'm teaching you how to, but what you're teaching them is how to speak, you know what I mean? Or whatever. So
Mhm.
I'm grateful for that.
No, exactly. And I agree, it's so important, kind of going back to some of those things there that you were just talking about, especially having daughters. We have to
Hmm.
really teach them that it's doesn't define their worth as a person. Like you were mentioning, like all these old ladies were saying, never say never. It's not, you haven't lived your life yet. You haven't fulfilled your potential. You know,
Hmm.
definitely throw that out the window. That's garbage. I have daughters
Right.
now. That's not where their worth should ever be attached to.
Right.
If that's what they want to do, if that's their choice when they get older and kind of things like that, I hope that they're just in a healthy situation to do that. A healthy relationship with a healthy partner, that with
Yeah.
healthy financially, to where it's not going to be a financial burden if they have a child, but also to where she's healthy as an individual to have that child, to where the pregnancy is as low risk as possible, to where she's healthy enough and it's all going to be okay. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what
Well, and
matters
also,
most.
that's right. And also the relationship, not just with their own children or or future children, but roommates and partners down the line. Like I
Hmm.
picture, Beatrice, my daughter, at some point down the line, having something, an opportunity, a thing that she really wants to do.
Hmm.
And someone in her life, roommate, partner, whoever, saying, but if you go do that thing, you're hurting me by leaving me. That she now has somewhere in the folds of her brain a way to handle that she can demonstrate, which is to come to that person and say, I know it's going to be sad that I'm leaving, but I really want to go do my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hopefully, those are the sort of
Yeah.
templates of things that she can apply to herself and to other people, whether or not she's ever conscious of it. You just want to try, fill that bucket,
Yes.
as long as you
Yeah.
can, especially that 0 to 5.
Yeah, that was so
It's like,
important.
this
Like,
is,
yeah, I have a 5-year-old.
mhm.
She's almost 6,
Yeah.
so
So you have no more opportunity. She's made. She's cooked.
Pretty much. I mean, she's been like a little teenager stuck in a child's body since she was like 3. She's so smart. And that's why I love working like with this age of like kindergarten. That's why I coach t-ball with like kindergarten, first grades, and I coach kindergarten, first grades like football, and I do all these things with this age. Like a lot of my cases at work that I work with, my kids are in kindergarten. They're young. And one thing that I notice across everything that I do is that we do not give this age enough credit whatsoever. Like my daughter just brought back her homework yesterday, her homework folder, which homework in kindergarten, like we need to, no, that's dumb.
Yeah, my kid has it TK. She's got homework in TK.
So dumb. But anyways, she brought home her homework folder and it said that, she's doing all her work, it's all right, but the quality is just not there. And I was talking to my wonderful lady friend. She's amazing. Sorry, I won't smile too much when I talk about her, but
cute Jay. You gushed a little bit. I don't know if everyone can see you. You're glowing, girl.
She's amazing. But we were talking about it, and I was just like, I love how the focus is on like her penmanship, but not on the focus that she gets through her work so fast at 5 because it's too easy for her. And she's too intelligent for the work that you're giving her. It's not challenging enough. That's why she doesn't care to take her time on it, because if she takes her time, it's not going to benefit her at all. Versus if she rushes through it, she's going to get the same amount of learning from it either way. And she's 5. If she's 5.
Right. And now she's done. She can go run in the grass or do whatever else she wants to do.
In 3 to 5 years, she's not going to be writing a damn thing anyway.
Right.
Like it's sad, but it's like, yes, she's going to know how, but in 3 to 5 years, she's not going to be writing. She's going to be typing everything on a Chromebook or an iPad or something. Like she's not, it's done. It's not like when I was a kid or when you were a child where we wrote everything all the way up until we graduated college, damn near. Like I was still handwriting stuff when I was 18 and going into college, and like, I don't want to say the age difference between us, but like I was
handwriting too. Yeah, I was handwriting letters, girl. That first marriage I had,
I remember handwriting
was to a guy I met in Scotland, and I had an email, but he didn't even have email, so we would handwrite letters twice a week on the like really super thin like airline paper.
Yes,
because it was cheaper.
Yeah,
I mean that's like fucking artifact stuff.
Oh yeah, I had girls. So I grew up LDS Mormon. A little bit about me. I'm no longer affiliated, but there was girls where I was in college that were going on missions and things like that, who I just thought were just so amazing. We would handwrite letters because this was before it was like adopted that you could email and send emails and things like that. I'm like, that's such a waste of time.
So sweet though,
because now I can just type. I'm a much better typer. Like obviously I do writing and stuff for myself and for creative projects and whatnot, but it's like doesn't matter. Like let's just focus on the strength here is that she's too smart for the stupid Common Core curriculum. I mean, we both live on the left coast, so we both live over here, so curriculum is probably pretty similar between us. It's a little bit simpler for when you have a kid of high intelligence, and it's more
Beatrice
like,
will start kindergarten in August, and she's going to the local Van Nuys public assigned elementary school, and we're excited. I mean, it's really close. Awesome. I mean, you talk about the trade-off. I mean, schools are so tough, and I am learning, and Los Angeles public school is a tricky nut to crack. It's very difficult to navigate. There's a lot of no reply and a lot of
like I live out in Eastern Washington, so I live like Southeast Washington, so it's like very rural, kind of like spread out still, not overpopulated, LA craziness. So
it's hard. I mean, even just driving around the city, getting your kid to places is like challenge number one. And there's like, you say, well, what are the schools around here? And there's like 10. There's like 10 possible schools.
But then they all have like a specific boundary. Charter, public,
Some are
private.
public, some are charter, some are public charter, some are public private, and I don't understand it all. And she's 5, so I'm just, and she's great, she's doing great. So I was just like, well, we're gonna go to the assigned public school until that isn't what we should do. And
Yeah.
we toured it. We met the principal, and it's a 3-minute drive.
Yeah,
In Los Angeles.
no,
I mean, we could ride our bikes there.
I
Oh my
know,
God.
I know. My school that my daughter goes to is like 5 minutes up the road. Like the weeks that I have my kids, like it's up the road 5 minutes to school, then
Mhm.
down the road about 7 minutes to drop the little one off at her mom's, and then another 10 minutes back for me to get to work. Ish. That's
Just
10
enough
minutes.
time to listen to a podcast.
Just enough time to throw a little something up on to get myself awake in the morning.
Yeah, there you go.
On those weeks, but yeah, no, it's definitely different here. Like I was in Seattle a couple weeks ago, and driving through Seattle traffic, thought I was gonna have a panic attack. Like legit, I was like, this sucks. Like there's like 8 lanes. I missed my exit twice. Like I grew up in this, but I didn't grow up driving in this. I grew up driving in East Bay, Oakland, California traffic, which isn't much better. It's worse, but like at least California drivers, we all kind of know, like we're all on the same page that we go fast, cut each other off, kind of thing. We're all on the same page.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's just you start to watch your life tick by in those cars, you know. And it was to what you were talking about earlier. We were talking about being financially secure for so many reasons when you have kids, but really for me, the primary reason was just this general state that you are in when you're in a panic to get somewhere on time and to make that money, and everything is hinging on this crazy, and that, because that doesn't necessarily mean just money. I mean, you could be driving a $500,000 car to a $200,000 school to your $10 million job and still get yourself worked up because you just have to get there and everything has to be perfect. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I know that these sort of states of mind are not necessarily confined to money, but I don't know about you, but I've lived on that edge though, where there's a very literal risk where if we screw up, like the stakes are just always so high to what happens next. And as a performer, it isn't even that I'm trying to like appease some shitty boss. It's a gig. The gig starts. And if I'm not at the gig, I miss the gig. And no one's going to be like, well, we're trying to understand why you're 5 minutes late. It's you blew up the gig. Like the event was supposed to start and it didn't.
Yeah,
so
you messed up.
Even necessarily convincing someone to give you some ease. It's just, you're either going to make the flight or you're not going to make the flight, you know?
Yeah.
And anyway, to that end, choosing a school that whether or not you can afford it, whether or not you can get there, whatever, is like, it's going to be another hour in the car every day for however many years. Is that what you want? And those are good days when the traffic is like that. So how are you speaking to your child while they're in the back seat? How are you speaking to yourself when you're stuck again and you're quietly resenting your child for putting you in this position where now you're going to be like, versus a school that is probably just as good as the other school and is 3 minutes away, and now you get to skip there and hold hands and sing songs and stop at Menchie's on the way back. Like,
exactly. Like, it's like, what are, like, there's always going to be those trade-offs, you know, throughout parenthood and throughout life. There's always going to be those trade-offs. It's like, well, I could do this or I could do that. You know, it's not going to be perfect. And the last thing you should be doing, I feel, is kind of what I'm kind of hearing from you, is like, do what the things that you're not going to resent your child for, you know? Because imagine if you and Melby had gotten together and gotten pregnant sooner and had a child sooner and you weren't in that place, there could be a resentment toward him from you, and there could also be resentment towards your child for putting you in like a financial situation or making you, you know, when people say their kids made them give up their dreams or whatever, things like that. It's like, don't be in that spot. Like, I'm, you know, trying to find, now that school's done, like I'm trying to find my way back to those things that I was doing before a lot, like before the divorce or like after the divorce, like things that like help me stay grounded and feel like myself, where it's like, now I have this podcast, I do more writing. You know, I'm working on a couple kids books, like picture book things like that. Like I just finished like a 15,000 word like blog series that I'm gonna have coming out. It's like 12 pieces. It's like they're all like 1,200 words, so maybe it's like 17,000 words. But like I spent hours on that, and I'm just so happy with the result of them because they're so cool.
Well
things
done.
like that. So you got to find your way back to kind of like your own roots. And then when you have a kid, don't lose your roots just because you have a kid.
Right.
Don't.
Right. Bring them along. I mean, if you're lucky enough to be living a life that you're really enjoying, and you have something like a financial ability to make this choice, it's like, I don't think about stopping my life, having to shut my life down to now take a hard right turn to the child. This kid is coming into my life, and I'm going to make room and change my life, you know what I mean, to bring her in.
Yes.
And she can then, at a certain point in her own life, choose to get off this train or to ride next to it or to whatever. But this is still my life.
Yeah.
And I love my life, and I'm really glad I'm alive, and I'm really glad I have a kid, and I'm really glad I have a mom. But yeah, I think there can be some, and people do this with marriage too,
Yes.
There's this life that you live, and then there's like a wall drops and you are now a married person. And that can be, whatever your wall is. I am now an employed person. I am now an army person. I am now whatever you're defining yourself as.
And so you just drop all these people, these things that you were doing before that you brought you joy because you added a new title responsibility. Like, yes, right. I hope that this woman that I'm talking to, I sure hope that I get to be with her for a very, 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 very long time.
I do too. She sounds great.
She is. Oh my gosh. And she texted me. I looked down on my phone. I saw that she texted me. She's like, I can't wait to listen to this episode. I'm like, ugh. Like, I'm going to give her that precursor. Like, okay, first little bit of the conversation, I was complimenting Dawn. I was complimenting her platonically. I wasn't.
Oh, and then she just goes on and on about how hot she is for her husband. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I go on and on about how hot I am for you.
Yeah. Oh, she's going to be like, yay.
And yeah, and it's like, where was I going with that?
See, you are flustered by this, Jay.
Quiet, Dawn. Anyways,
sorry.
But like, I hope that I get to be with her for like a really long time. And like, we definitely have that established where it's like, she knows that I have like a busy life, or like any day of the week, I'm either coaching something, or I'm taking my kid to karate, or I'm at the gym, or I'm writing or doing a podcast, or like I'm doing all these things like that I do. Like I have a life. Like I have a life. You have a life. Yeah. But know that you are a choice that I want to add into my life. I am choosing you as someone to take time away from something else. Like I'm choosing, it's a choice. It's a blatant choice, having kids, getting married, getting, whatever it is. It's a conscious choice that you have to adjust your life. You have to add into your life, not adjust your life around, but you add it in. It's a bonus. It's an add-in, like,
Yeah. And I look forward to my kid doing that for me too. Like I said, my life is a train, and, come in and ride along and then do we want, but I intend to follow that same example with her. Like,
yes,
she's at the moment a real girly girl, which is really not me. I do girl. it's a part of me, but it has never been my thing.
Our kids just would generally my oldest kid and your kid, they would get along great. They would get along great.
Yeah, I'm also down.
Extra
but I'm also down to please do. I'll send you the address. But I'm also down for this. Like, I'm not saying the reciprocal thing to her, which is like, I'm doing my thing. I'm not going to ride your train. Like, if she gets super into glammy, dancey stuff, I'm down. I'm
here for it. I'm in.
I will get. Yeah, I don't need to like.
Melby's probably gonna be way more in than
hairy
you are.
Armpitted lesbian. Yeah, you're gonna be a feminist like your mom. Like
you're gonna see Melby just like glammed up one day. You're gonna come home from like a show or something, and Melby's just gonna be glammed up and.
He is probably, but you know what? He's doing it too. Let me give props to my young dad. He has been doing such a great job of bringing her lovingly into his interests too. Yes. He's taken her snowboarding a few times. There's one hill.
That's so important for dads
and
to bring
surfing
their daughters
and dirt biking.
Bring them into the boy things.
Totally. And you know what he did, Jay? So smart. He took her the last time that they went. We the three of us went once, and I'm not really much of a snowboarder, so I just went to kind of support. But He took her up
You
there
just went to
and just
watch
the two
him
of
be a
them.
dad.
And be like, so cool. I know, it's so great. He didn't even bring his board with him. Well, he did, but he left at the car because he was like, I'm just going to run alongside her and fall with her. He's like, I don't even intend on snowboarding today. Like, and he loves it. You know what I mean? But he was like, I'm going to just today, the lesson for her is play in the snow. You can't do it wrong. It's all giggles and laughs and no problem.
Yes.
And then I can help her stay up longer and get on the chairlift when she's feeling brave enough. But he was just very consciously not trying to do the like, this is my day snowboarding and you're going to keep up with me, or I'm going to make you into an Olympic snowboarder starting today. And if you cry, I'm going to show how disappointed I am. You know what I mean? He was really gracious about it. And it was so wonderful to see.
That's awesome. And Melby's a good looking dude. He's a
total babe, right?
Total babe.
Total babe. He's got like hand tattoos and like,
I know.
Yeah, my friends too.
No wonder you get
every year too.
No wonder you get so hot and heavy when you talk about him on HILF. You're just like, well, Melby.
I can't stand what he is. Oh. And like, this is because he's 8 years younger than me. Like I said, he was just kind of like this kid, but he's like matured, a lot since we've been together. And like, we went home to see my friends in Minnesota. They hadn't seen him in like 4 or 5 years. And they were gushing about him in the car. Like I got in the car to go and they were like, Dawn, what happened to Melby? I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, he's a grade A beefcake. And I was like, I know, right? He's a grade A beefcake. I totally scored.
You're like, that's who
I've been married to him for years. But
exactly. No, true. And that's amazing. Like just hearing when you talk about Melby, even on HILF, and just like when you're over sexualizing him a little bit sometimes.
Sure, I objectify him a little. It's true.
You do. It's more than a little. Just playing. But it's like at the same time, like it's so great to like hear like that respect and that gush and that love and the adoration that you have for him, like as a husband, as a father, because that is so important. Like that's a two-way street. Like you'll die on that Melby Hill.
Oh yes,
you'll die on that Melby Hill for him, and
definitely.
that's so important to a relationship to have that. But we're running a little long here. I'll talk about Melby with you another time. I promise.
No worries. Thanks.
I'll talk to Melby myself and I'll be like, yep, checks out. But for you, being a performer in front of hundreds of thousands of people, being a mom, being a wife, what advice, you kind of touched on it, but if you had to give advice to a mom who feel like she had just completely lost sight of her dreams, her aspirations because of these damn kids, to kind of bring us back to that, what are you going to say to that mom who is in that place?
I think for me, what has worked may work for them, which is probably not going to surprise you, but it is to go back to your origin, a history of your own, because there is a story, there's a seed of a reason why you were pursuing that dream to begin with. Right. And there's a reason why you wanted to have kids to begin with, and the kid, you know what I mean? And sometimes if you can go back to the origin, you can find the seeds of the way these two things can go together, because I don't believe anyone has ever given up on their dream. I don't even think that dreams are ever put on pause. I don't even subscribe to the idea that like I put my dream on a shelf but don't worry, my dream isn't dead. I'm going to go back to it someday. It's never on a shelf. Your dreams that is your dream. Your dreams are circulating around you and forming you all the time. Sometimes we're lucky enough to feel a tangible corner of it or to catch a glimpse of it through the window. But I think our dreams are always moving and always changing. And if I wanted to, I could look through the lens of my own motherhood and see opportunities lost when I had my baby, for sure. Right. And it was compounded by the way my body changed, the amount of time I had to take off, the way I was perceived by the outside world. And then right about the time that she was off of my body and independent, COVID happened and we were locked down for, 2+ years again in this whole new landscape. And I could have seen a narrative in which I wrote that as baby and pandemic ruined my life.
Yeah.
Ended my dreams. And yet, in the midst of that, I learned Beatrice's dreams. I learned the unparalleled satisfaction of helping someone achieve their own dream. And I found a new dream, and those dreams that were under the soil and under the snow are sprouting again. So I guess I would always just say, find what makes you happy and hold on to it with both hands, and let what makes you happy change if it wants to.
I love that. That's absolutely beautiful. Well, Dawn, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Aaron was bummed that he had to miss it because he was so excited to talk to you as well. But, hopefully, again, we'll have you back eventually because you were just so interesting to talk to. I would not mind getting HILF by you on HILF.
I was just going to say, by the way, come get HILF.
I would not mind getting HILF by you. So, but guys, everyone listening, you guys can find Dawn on Instagram, Dawn_Brodey. You can also find HILF at, I have it written here, at HILF Pod or HILF Podcast.
HILF Podcast, yeah.
HILF Podcast, yes, on Instagram. 2 great social media pages. You can also find Dawn on her website, www.dawnbrodey.com. And again, you can also just search on the YouTubes, Dawn Brodey. You will find plenty of hilarious videos and content that she has done. I'm going to have to look up your IMDb because I definitely want to see those episodes of Pretty Little Liars, Days of Our Lives, and Cruel Hearts. I'm going to try to see you acting and whatnot. And if you are watching this on YouTube, I don't know if it's a facade or if Dawn just dyed her hair, but there's a redhead front in there somewhere if you look at her social media. So
there is. There's a little red in there somewhere.
It's there. But Dawn, again, thank you so much for coming on. It was amazing having you. It was amazing talking to you. It was a true pleasure. And listeners, we're going to take next week off. Dawn was our last guest on season 2 of Young Dad Pod.
Hey.
We are so honored to have her, but we're going to take a week off and we'll be back with you in May for our launch of season 3 of the podcast. We're super excited. We're grateful. Dawn, thank you. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you.